Welcome to episode 3 of The Prophet's Red Robe. In episode 1, we witnessed the horrifying night mass, sacrifices made at the night, on the altar in Prophet Eliud's compound. Then, in episode 2, we went way back, uncovering Eliud's haunting origin, the blood pact he made with a creature not of this world. Now, take a breath. And let's dive into episode 3, right where it all began, that night of the night mass. Inside the study room of the House of Sacred Renewal compound, blood dripped silently down, pooling inside the silver goblet beneath the altar. Prophet Eliud did not flinch. His chanting deepened, vibrating the walls. Wanjiku's hands trembled. Brian pressed his phone against his thigh, recording. The lens was hidden inside a false hymn book. His breathing was shallow, barely audible. The next in line was a young man, maybe 20. He walked like a puppet, limbs uncoordinated, lips moving without sound. He made it halfway to the altar, then collapsed. A sudden gasp rippled through the room. One of the ushers rushed forward. A woman began crying softly. The prophet stopped chanting, his expression unreadable. Brian leaned toward Wanjiku and whispered, "Now." They rose from their spot, heads bowed, and moved toward the fallen man. They knelt, mimicking prayer, while carefully scanning the room. "Help him outside," an usher barked, irritated. Brian nodded quickly. They grabbed the man's arms. He was heavy, still murmuring. Together, they carried him through the side door, careful not to look back. Once outside, the cold air hit them. The man's head lolled back. He was alive, but unconscious. They laid him on the ground beneath a tree. Then Brian turned to Wanjiku. "Go. I'll get our devices." She hesitated. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "Meet me by the old fence, the one behind the water tanks." They split. Wanjiku sprinted across the yard, white robe billowing behind her. She had memorized the compound layout weeks ago: bathrooms, kitchen, prayer rooms, and the locked utility shed. That shed had a fuse box. She slipped in quietly. It smelled of kerosene and burned wires. She found the box and yanked at the wires blindly. Sparks flew. Moments later, the lights across the compound flickered, then died. Darkness swallowed everything. Shouts erupted. Doors flew open. Someone screamed. She ran. Meanwhile, Brian crept through the dim hallway toward their quarters. His hands shook as he stuffed their secret recording devices, small microphones and other equipment, into his backpack. Then he ran. He darted through a kitchen alley, through the garden, past the washing line, straight toward the fence. He didn't see the man standing behind the tank. "Where are you going?" the voice asked. Brian froze. The flashlight clicked on. An usher. Wanjiku appeared from the side, breathless. "Brother, there's a fire!" she shouted, pointing toward the chapel. "Smoke! Come see!" The usher turned instinctively. Brian struck him hard, with a stone. The man slumped. "Go!" Wanjiku shouted. They dragged the usher's body behind the tank and slipped through the hole in the fence. A narrow tear in the wire they had discovered weeks earlier, half hidden by shrubs. They ran, through tall grass, through thorn bushes, barefoot, bleeding. They didn't stop, until they reached the main road, nearly 2 kilometers away. A town bus stopped for them, after some pleading. The passengers stared at them, dirty, panting, bare feet, and wearing white robes at 5:30 a.m. They said nothing, just clutched each other's hands, praying the phones weren't damaged. After 3 long hours on the road, they finally reached Gilgil. Stepping off the bus, dusty, drained, they found a modest local lodge. Just enough for what they needed. A shower, change of cloth, and a moment to breathe. Wanjiku slipped out to the nearby shops, returning with 2 sets of clothes, one for each of them. They had left everything behind at the Prophet's compound. They retreated to their separate rooms, resting for few quiet hours. Clean and changed, they met again at noon in the lodge's garden. Over a simple lunch, they ate in silence. The only sounds, rustling leaves, and the distant hum of life in Gilgil. After their meal, Brian opened the phone. The footage was there, clear, undeniable, terrifying. Wanjiku whispered, "We have it. Now the world will know the truth." But Brian frowned and said, "Not yet." He zoomed in on a still from the video, the Prophet's red robe, a small symbol on the sleeve, a spiral, a horn, a script no one alive could read. Wanjiku leaned closer. "I've seen that before," she said slowly, "in an archive." Brian looked at her and asked, "Where?" Her voice was quiet when she responded, "A colonial sketchbook. From 1902, it was found in West Pokot. It described a man who never aged." Brian's eyes widened. "Then we need to find out who this prophet really is," he said, "before he finds us first." A heavy silence fell between them. They both knew. They had stumbled into something far deeper than they were prepared for. Brian finally broke the silence. "If, by any chance, this Eliud is connected to the man in that sketchbook you mentioned, then we're dealing with something old. Very old." He looked at her, voice low, eyes serious. "And if this church, or cult, or whatever it is, goes back before the 1900s, then it's safe to assume they have power, reach, resources, ways of finding people. I don't think Eliud will take kindly to being exposed." Wanjiku nodded, her face pale. "They'll probably start digging into us. Background checks. They'll figure out we're journalists. Then our workplace, our homes, our families. Everyone we know might be at risk. The only way to stay safe now is to go somewhere they would never expect." Brian raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Where?" She pulled out her phone, zoomed in on a spot on the map. Kapenguria, West Pokot. Brian blinked. "That's where the sketchbook was found, isn't it?" Wanjiku nodded. "If this thing started there, that's also where we might find answers." They wasted no time. They charged their phones and uploaded the footage from Eliud's compound to 2 separate encrypted cloud servers. Each set the password to the one the other didn't know. So even under pressure, one video would remain hidden. "If one of us gets caught," Brian said, "the other can still get the story out." Then Brian had an idea. "I have a cousin in Musoma, Tanzania. I'll email him, say I'm traveling there for work, and I'll see him soon. If someone's monitoring our emails, they'll think we're heading south." Wanjiku nodded. "It might buy us a few days." Brian headed to town. He bought 2 small backpacks, basic clothes, new shoes, 2 burner phones, a first aid kit, and other essentials from a list Wanjiku had scribbled. But he didn't return to the lodge. Instead, he texted her, "Leave quietly. Don't check out. We can't afford to be tracked." They met at a dimly lit restaurant a few blocks away. From there, they hired 2 motorbike riders to take them to the outskirts of Gilgil. In the fading light, they boarded a long-haul bus heading west toward Eldoret. They got off at midnight in a quiet town called Burnt Forest. It was cold, the streets mostly empty. They slept in a small guest house, half asleep, half alert. Both were still thinking of what they have witnessed during the night mass. The next morning, they continued their journey. They boarded a crowded local bus, bound for West Pokot. As the bus rumbled toward the hills, Wanjiku leaned toward Brian and said, "When we reach autumn, we get off." "Not Kapenguria?" he asked. "They'll be watching the bus station. Autumn is small, less eyes. From there, we rent motorbikes to get us to Kapenguria." Brian nodded. The road ahead was winding, unfamiliar. But they were no longer just escaping. They were chasing something ancient and dangerous. Thank you for joining me for Chapter 3 of The Prophet's Red Robe. The path ahead for Wanjiku and Brian is getting darker and far more dangerous than they ever expected. So let me ask you, what do you think awaits them in Kapenguria? And if you discovered a mysterious notebook tied to a dark chapter in your family or your place of worship, would you dig deeper or walk away? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your theories. And if you're enjoying the journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and beware of anyone promising quick miracles. As the Swahili proverb says, haraka haraka, haina baraka.